A little say good day to you this day of your time. How are you all? All right. All right. Once again, we thank you for the opportunity to transmit and share with you this information. This transmission has been titled Limitations Unlimited. Now, we understand in general, in your society, that when your people speak of such things as limitations, it quite often will carry with it a negative connotation. Because it has been discussed that it is a positive thing to let go of limitations. That letting go of limitations gives you a sense of expansiveness, of freedom. And this is so. But we would like to clarify the idea of limitations now much more precisely so that the idea is not just generalized with a negative light. Because there is such a thing as, for lack of a better term, positive limitations. In fact, the majority of limitations you experience are positive limitations. Now, perhaps a different word might be a little bit more illustrative. Maybe the idea of guidelines or the idea of focus, of intention, might be another way to express the concept of positive limitation. Because we do understand, not to confuse things, but to be more precise, we do understand that essentially, mechanically speaking, yes, limitations are mechanically negative in the sense that they create a kind of disconnection experience, forgetting experience. And the idea, therefore, that they might be mechanically negative doesn't mean that you cannot use them in a positive way. And using limitations in a positive way is what we mean by positive limitations. For example, you have agreed in general to play the Earth physical reality game. Obviously, right from the get-go, that is a kind of imposed limitation on your expanded consciousness as a spirit, as a larger being. You have to focus down, give yourself some parameters, some boundaries, some guidelines to focus upon in order to play the physical reality Earth game, which is, in a sense, more limited than the one that you would experience as a spirit in non-physical reality. But that's all right. These boundaries, these borders that you create for yourself, these guidelines and so-called rules of how to play the game, is what allows you to gain a positive experience of the process of creation. And even within that reality, there are many ways to experience the concept of using limitations in a positive way. Again, clearly, as you go about your day, you experience things that are the product and the result of you focusing on such things as your passion, on such things as communicating with your friends and families. There are ways in which you have gone about designing these things that takes advantage of the fact that you can limit your consciousness to have a very specifically focused experience in one particular way without paying attention to all the other connections that you may have in reality. And from time to time, you can loosen those up and allow yourself to become more aware of some of those other connections, but then even that is a kind of focused limitation because you usually pay attention to one or two or a few particular things at a time in order to engage that process of creation in a way that your physical mind can handle it, can process it. The physical mind itself, again, is the product of imposing a limitation on your consciousness by creating an artificial personality structure that contains definitions, belief systems, emotions, thought patterns, behaviors, so on and so forth. But again, all for the purpose of going on a particular ride, just in the same way that if you decide to go to one of your theme parks, one of your amusement parks, You will focus on, usually, a ride at a time, or what it is that you are enjoying with your friends, or what it is you happen to be eating at that moment. That focus gives you, those guidelines and parameters give you an intensity of experience. That's what it's for. It's like narrowing down your vision so that there is a very small aperture through which a lot of energy and a lot of experience can come to allow it to be the most invigorating, the most intense experience that you can have, so that you're really living to the fullest. You're really getting every little ounce of what you can get and what you can experience out of this physical reality dream. It's a limitation upon your consciousness because it is just a projection of consciousness, but it is a projection that is made to seem real so that you can have a visceral experience of physical reality. Otherwise, it would be diaphanous. It would simply be made of smoke and mirrors. You would never be able to really have the kind of experiences that you have without the positive use of limitation. You follow along? So we simply share this idea with you this day of your time so that you don't necessarily go through your life just automatically assigning negative meanings to the ideas of limitations, and that you can really learn to appreciate how clever, how creative, how beneficial the limitations are that you use in positive ways to give you the wonderful, beautiful, creative, artistic experience you're having called physical life. So this is for the purpose of allowing you to open up a little bit, not be quite so limited in how you look at limitations, and give yourself the benefit of the positive experience of how you cleverly use the negative energy or the negative mechanics of creating a limitation on your consciousness in order to create a very powerful positive experience of life for yourselves. You understand? All right. So just let that sink in. Let the idea of how you focus on limitations just happen naturally. Again, synchronicity will serve you as to what you need to focus on at any given moment and what kind of rules or guidelines or parameters you need to pay attention to at any given moment. It's an adjustable, dynamically changing thing, always fluctuating in accordance to what you need at any given moment based on your vibration that you're giving off. So just let it occur naturally, and it will guide you unerringly through life to allow you to experience exactly what you need to experience in using that tool in a positive and beneficial way. So then, in return for the gift that you are giving to us in allowing us to experience all of you, we ask, in what way may we now be of service to you? Please begin with your questions and comments if you wish.
So a couple of years ago, I kind of went into this rabbit hole, if you will, of research for a project, and it got me obsessed with things that took my mind to a less than positive place, I guess. So it was fun to think about.
Well, you chose to go to a less than positive place.
I went there.
No circumstance actually takes you there. You choose to go there based on your belief system.
Do you have thoughts on human beings who let their minds drift to conspiracies all the time, and whether or not the presidential figure at the time is...
It's what I just said. If you are embedded with a negative belief system, you will gravitate towards seeing everything in life through negative lenses. Remember that all of these are real realities. You get the experience you focus on. So those that have the belief system that think that there are conspiracies around every corner will experience conspiracies around every corner. That's the version of Earth they will experience. We're not saying there are no such things as conspiracies. Of course there are, because conspiracies themselves are usually the product of negative belief systems in the way that you typically refer to conspiracies on your planet. Of course, anytime anyone gets together with anyone else and goes in a similar direction or discusses something of a similar content, technically speaking, that's a conspiracy. Conspiration, co-spire, breathe together. Anyone that is doing anything with someone else that is the same thing is conspiring with them in the neutral sense of the word. But we understand the way that people on your planet typically use the word conspiracy. It usually is given a negative context. But again, the idea is that people who have fear-based belief systems will see conspiracies under every rock, and they'll experience the result of that. What do you prefer? So if you don't prefer to experience that, have a positive-based belief system, and even though you might observe that there might actually be a conspiracy somewhere, or you might observe that someone else is saying there are conspiracies everywhere, that doesn't mean that any so-called conspiracies will affect your life in any particular way at all, because you'll be on a different frequency, you'll be on a different wavelength, and whatever it is their intention is will simply have no ability to affect you in any negative way. So it's your choice.
There are no negative entities on this planet that you're aware of that...
Of course, there are many entities on your planet that are negatively oriented, but so what? What's that got to do with the life that you choose to experience? Why not simply exist on a wavelength that will make whatever it is they're doing completely ineffectual for you? So in that sense, you won't care whether there are negative entities here or there or anywhere, because they'll simply have no effect on you. Do you understand? The more you focus on the idea that there are negative entities, the more you become negatively oriented. In fact, that's actually what they rely on. Do you understand? That's the trick. The idea is that they want you to think they're more powerful than they are. And their power comes from getting you to believe they're more powerful than they are. So you give over your power. And thus, you are succumbing to the negative idea that they're perpetuating. But they don't really have more power than you do. They just want you to believe that they do. And when you believe that they do, then they do, because you give it to them. So don't fall for the trick. Don't get caught up in the idea that there may be negative entities. Of course there are. But so what? What's that got to do with the life you're going to experience?
Nothing.
Well, then, why bring it up?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, Bashar.
And a good day.
I'm very excited to be with you.
We are very excited to be interacting with you as well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I was conversing with Source as I was parking to get here, and it was...
No, all right.
Yeah. And it was a very...
Source is your parking fairy?
No.
No?
Much easier than that, but...
Oh, all right.
Yeah. I was making a lot of demands about my life right now.
Demands?
Yeah.
Demands? Why do you need to make demands?
Because I have this level of frustration about
right.
where I feel I'm willing to exist and be,
All right.
and what I feel is showing up in my life.
Do you understand that experiencing frustration actually prevents you from being where you prefer to be? So you're creating a self-fulfilling negative prophecy?
No, I didn't.
Well, do you understand it now?
Ish, yes.
Ish. All right. Ish. When you have negative definitions, negative expectations, you're putting certain expectations upon where you think you need to be, and you're finding yourself not being there, and you allow frustration to come in. The frustration is the result of another negative definition that says that something is wrong.
Yeah.
As soon as you define that something is wrong, something will be experienced as wrong. And it will keep being experienced as wrong as long as you hold the definition to be true, that it's wrong. Therefore, you are building your own frustration. So you're the one creating your frustration by having a definition of what's going on that's out of alignment with your true vibration. The idea is to understand that wherever you are at any given moment, even if it's not where you prefer to be, is where you need to be at that moment to learn what you need to learn. Even if it's only to learn that you don't prefer that moment. But you have to understand there's a big, 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 big difference between neutrally recognizing that you don't prefer something and invalidating that thing with a negative definition. As soon as you invalidate what you don't prefer, you stick to it like glue. Wow. Because you're giving it undue attention. Yeah. You're giving it undue power. You're assigning more power to it than your definition of preference. And that's what keeps you in that self-perpetuating cycle of frustration, is defining what's going on as invalid. because then all you're doing is invalidating yourself. Because you create and attract every experience for some reason, and if you invalidate the reason that you attracted the experience to yourself, you can't get out of that experience what it is you could be getting out of that experience in a positive way, because all you're doing is assigning it, filling it with negative vibrations. Therefore, its only possible opportunity is to provide you with more and more amplified negative experiences, because that's what you're funneling into it, is invalidation. So it will reflect invalidation back to you, and you will feel invalidated, and you will feel upset, and you will feel constricted, and you will feel frustrated, because you're invalidating yourself. Remember, physical reality is just a mirror. Just a mirror. And if you're seeing a frown in the reflection, you can't invalidate it, because you know the frown is coming from your own face. So you're invalidating your own state of being. Again, you can recognize, oh, well, I don't prefer that state, but I'm not going to invalidate it, because by seeing the frown in the mirror, I see that I'm not in the state I prefer to be in. So thank you, frown. I will now turn you upside down. And I will smile because that's what I prefer. And I don't care if you smile back, but you have shown me that smiling is what I prefer. So I will smile, and oh look, what a shock. The reflection is smiling back. Because it has no choice when you actually finally decide to smile at everything that happens, because you know it's going to serve you in a positive way, because you say so. If you're going to make demands, make the demand on yourself that you validate every single experience in your life, because you know it can serve double duty. And would you prefer it to serve you negatively, or would you prefer to serve you positively?
Positively.
Then demand of yourself that you always treat every situation in a positive way, and you will always get the positive experience without invalidating the one you don't prefer.
Can you give me an example of that?
Yes, I can. We have told this story before. The radio thief.
Okay.
Are you familiar with this?
No.
All right. A friend of the channel's is passionate about music. Passionate, passionate, passionate all day long, and is a musician. And one of the things that he loved to do was listen to music on the radio in his car while driving around your city. Now, he was passionate about buying a certain radio because it delivered the best quality sound. But he didn't have enough money to buy that and saw no other way to get a hold of it. So, following the idea of acting on your highest excitement to the best of your ability, he bought the next radio down he could afford that was still representative of excitement, but it was representative of the excitement he could attain, he could act on, even though he could not get the one he initially really preferred. You follow me so far?
Yes, I do.
Now, he had that radio installed in his automobile, and 1 week later, a thief broke into the car, damaged the dashboard, stole the radio, and ran away. Now, many people on your planet would invalidate this, would say, this is negative, this is bad. Why did this happen to me? Something must be wrong. I'm invalidating myself for having created this. I thought it was more spiritual than this. That's the big one in your reality. I thought I was more spiritual than this. That's the trap you fall into. There is nothing unspiritual about what I just described. Nothing. And because this person knew that, they stayed in a positive state. They said, I don't know how this serves me, but it must, because I prefer that it does. I prefer that this serve me in a positive way. I have no idea how this is going to serve me, but I know that it must. So by staying in that state, they went about the typical business that you do on your planet, reported the theft to the insurance company, got reimbursed for the radio, and also got money to repair the dashboard where the damage was done. Chose a particular auto repair shop, went to the auto repair shop. The auto repair person looked at the damage and said, you know, it looks bad, but it really isn't that bad. I can repair that in a jiffy. And did so so quickly, they didn't even charge the person for it. And now the person is standing there going, I have the money to replace the radio I had bought, but I still have the money that I was going to use to repair the car that now I don't need to spend that way. And when they took both amounts and put them together to the penny, it was exactly the amount that they needed to buy the original radio they were originally passionate about. That's how it works when you allow it to. If he had gone into the negative vibration, oh, this is terrible. I thought it was more spiritual than this. This is negative. This is bad. I invalidate this. Then he probably would not necessarily have gotten the same amount of money from the insurance company. He might have gone to an auto repair shop that would have charged him double for doing something that someone else could do for free. You understand? He would have attracted like vibration to like vibration and would have had a negative experience because he put a negative meaning to it, but he didn't. Put the positive meaning to it, and even though he couldn't fathom how it was going to serve him, it did. And it didn't matter what the thief's intention was. Didn't matter that the thief might have been coming from negative fear-based scenarios of being deprived and thinking that that thief had to steal in order to have, in order to feel powerful. Didn't matter what the thief's agenda was because it didn't affect the reality of this person who stayed in the positive state. Is that a good enough example for you?
That was a gift. Thank you.
And so are you. Don't forget that. Don't forget that. Everything that happens in your life is a gift. And if you treat it that way, you'll experience it that way and spend the rest of your life unwrapping presents. Does that help you?
Enormously. Thank
All
you.
right. Well, thank you. Anchor points are being established for the upcoming transmission from Epsilon. Nania.
Yes, we do have one more person coming up.
All right.
Were you next? Oh, okay, come on up.
All right. I heard you people multiplied quickly, but I had no idea.
Hi, Bashar.
Andrew, good day.
Wanted to first
Speak up, and be bold.
Wanted to first thank your organization for putting your
My
videos
organization.
for putting the videos on YouTube. That's how you were introduced to me. So
All right.
just want to say thank you. I have a question of curiosity.
Yes.
A lady before us asked you the question about angels.
Yes.
And my question is, and you said that angels were the first layer
The first reflection of all that is. Yes.
of all there is. So my question is, what's the next layers, and do they have definitions or names?
The idea of a vibrational name does exist within them, and you can have a certain translation in different realities or dimensions. That doesn't mean that they necessarily refer to themselves that way. It might just be the way that they are translated in different realities from your perspective.
So I'm not clear. So are there,
In other words, what you call the idea of an archangel, Michael, doesn't necessarily refer to itself that way, but understands that that may be an aspect of itself relative to your dimensional interpretation of its energy.
okay, let me ask the same question a little different ways.
Oh, all right.
Okay, we have angels, we have souls, we have spirits.
Yes.
And so beyond those three,
Well, you have oversouls as well.
okay, beyond the oversoul, what is there?
Well,
Going back to all there is.
there can be many different layers of what you might still euphemistically refer to as oversouls. You can give these different levels any kind of a name you want. You can say it's a super soul. You can say it's a universal soul. You can say it's a multiversal soul. You can give all the different levels any names you want, but it just goes on and on and on and on and on in different variations and different frequency divisions until you get to all that is.
Got it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Shibai.
Shivai,
I love you, Bashar.
our unconditional love to you as well.
Thank you. You recommend American Botanical Pharmacy for detox, right?
Yes, American Botanical Pharmacy has a very potent detox program. It
Yes.
exists in your Los Angeles area.
Yes, I love it. And so my family live in Japan. So do you have any recommendation detox company in Japan?
Nope,
No?
you will have to do the research yourself.
Okay.
Or you can simply acquire what is from the American Botanical Pharmacy and take it to Japan.
Okay, thank you so much.
Does that help you?
Yes.
Anything else?
And could you tell me about dragons?
Dragon.
Yes.
Well, there are many levels to this idea. Some of this idea exists in a non-physical dimensional reality. Some of it has expressed itself from time to time in your physical reality. But generally speaking, the dragon is the symbol, the archetypal symbol of ancient wisdom of physical reality and power. Wisdom and power of physical reality, expressing yourself as fully as you can. It is similar to what we were talking about today in terms of being extraordinary. It is the idea of giving over that power and igniting your life through the fire of the dragon, through the power of the wisdom of your natural ancient beingness, connecting to the earth in a very profound way and yet soaring to the sky by living as your authentic self. This is the symbol of the connection, the ladder, the link between heaven and earth. Yes?
Yes.
It is also sometimes been associated to the idea of certain extraterrestrial beings, symbolically, because of the kind of power they exhibit. Not so much because of how they actually look, although there are some extraterrestrial societies that have interacted with your planet that are a little bit amphibian-like, a little bit reptilian-like, but sometimes they have expressed an association to this symbol because of that familiarity or similarity. But the symbol of the dragon itself is a more ephemeral and etheric one, a more ultra-dimensional one, more representational, symbolic one of your ancient wisdom and power and connection from heaven to earth, and the revelation of secrets and the discovery of treasure within yourself, within your being. Yes?
Yes.
Does
Great.
this help you?
Yes, a lot.
All
Great.
right. Then
Thank you.
go and breathe some fire into your life.
Thank you so much.
You are welcome. Anchor points are now established. Did you have something to add, Nania?
Yes. Hi, Tadea.
To you, good day.
We have a question from our Ustream listeners.
Yes.
This one is about the children that are born on Essassani.
Yes.
And now that you are transitioning and becoming quasi-physical,
Yes.
can you tell us a little bit about the children that are born on your planet now, whether or not they are quasi-physical when they're born, or
Yes.
they're
They
not?
are quasi-physical when they're born. The idea is that a male and a female energy will create an energy bubble between them. And in that energy bubble, a new quasi-physical body will be formed that is representative of the soul of that child. And that child will then, in a sense, connect to that quasi-physical body and have a physiological representation in our society from that point forward. That is how birth takes place on our planet at this time, in our evolution.
Can you share a little bit about when a child is born on your planet, their relationship with their parents, and also their relationship with the other people in your society?
Well, they do have, obviously, a slightly different relationships with what you might call their quote-unquote biological parents, because there is biology involved in the sense that the essence of the energy of the parents is involved in the creation of that energy bubble in which the child's body is formed. And actual quasi-physical genetic material actually extends into that energetic bubble to allow for the body to be formed from the genetic material of the parents. Does that make sense so far?
Yes.
So the child does understand, even genetically, that they are connected and related to the parents who have used their genetic makeup to form that energy bubble along with their own energy makeup as well, and relates to them in that sense as biological parents. At the same time, in our society, because we are telepathically connected and because we consider ourselves one marriage and one family, then the adults on the planet are actually the parents of all the children, and the children are the children of all the adults. We live in one family. We live in one marriage, even though there are a number of individuals experiencing a number of variations of that idea within the collective. there is still overall one sense of family. So the child is allowed at age 3 to go wherever they want on the planet, because we know that no matter where they go, they're going to run into someone who's going to treat them like their own children.
So what's happening during those first 3 years?
They are mostly with what you would call the biological parents and their immediate acquaintances, going on whatever adventures the biological parents are going on, following their own excitement, so that they are absorbing from the parents the guide that they need, the guidance that they need to understand the general matrix of the agreement that they have been born into in that particular setup. So the parents help fulfill, help reflect to the child, help the child know, and help anchor into the child in the physical reality the agreements the child made. They help reinforce those attributes in the child that will allow the child to explore their own excitement in the most stable and expansive way possible. Then the child is released with that knowledge, with that understanding, with that stabilization in place to go and explore and express their highest excitement in whatever way, shape, and form they agreed to when they chose that particular theme.
So when the parents are focused on the child, what is their primary energetic attitude towards their child that they're communicating to the child so that it understands who it is and what it is?
Well, unconditional love and support of itself in whatever way it designed itself, in whatever way it chose to be. In choosing the parents and the parents choosing the child from a higher level, that is reinforced. The agreements are reinforced so that the child has clarity about their relationship to the parents, to the world, and to the theme that they are exploring, and most of all, to themselves, so that they understand what it is they are exploring. Does that make sense to you?
Yes. So for the children that were born on the planet when you were more physical, but
Yes.
may not necessarily be grown up in that
There was
sense.
more ritual to it, shall we say. There were rituals that were created that were reflective of the kind of things that we're now expressing simply energetically, that set up certain vibrations that the child would experience that would allow them to be stable in their understanding of their themes of exploration, of their connection to the world, their connection to our society, their connection to the cosmos. A lot of those took the form of music in the sense of setting up certain literal frequency environments that were harmonically representative of all the things that we are now expressing simply energetically to our children. Not that music can't be used, but it simply isn't as necessary as it used to be a long time ago when we were more like you.
So the children that were born that were physical for you,
Yes.
that are going through the process with you of
Yes.
becoming non-physical,
Yes.
how does that express itself?
In what way do you mean?
Oh, I guess that was the original question that came in, the idea of the children being born in a physical state when you, personally, let's say, were physical.
Well, I
an Essassani
have been only really quasi-physical. And my children, Nania, are quasi-physical as well.
You did see that I was looking.
We have been quasi-physical as a society for hundreds and hundreds of years.
Oh.
Remember, our dimension operates 10 times faster than yours. You understand?
Yes.
So we evolve faster. So what to you may seem to be 100 years, to us is 1,000. You understand? We have
Yes.
1,000 years of evolution for every 100 of
Yes.
your years of experience.
Yes. Did you share with me something about how with your father that you spent a long period of time with regard to, the contact work and everything?
We experienced a lot of training under our father's guidance and our mother's guidance with regard to the idea of becoming a first contact specialist and continuing the family line. And by the way, my grandmother was also a first contact specialist.
So that's been going on in the family line for a long time.
Yes, it has. There have been some derivations, but generally it has existed in the family line for quite some time.
So is there anything else you can share with us about
It has been my family line for what we experience to be about 3,000 of your years.
Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
All right.
So, and it all sounds so wonderful. I guess I'm just trying to envision, like if there's a class of young children together on Essassani.
Normally, they can be on the planet's surface, but in many cases, they are actually on the motherships, because the motherships are the cities and the classrooms that explore the cosmos, so they get firsthand experience of what other civilizations are like. I do teach a class of first contact specialists on the mothership.
Yeah, I know that one of the things you do is teach the
Yes.
children also,
Yes.
like groups of children.
The first contact specialists, yes.
So when we're in Hawaii and we're doing our circles with our counterpart Essassani classes, sometimes we're probably interfacing with
Yes,
your...
of course. There will always be overlap in any class structure on other levels, in other dimensions. Not only ours, but on spirit levels as well.
I think the realization is that it's great to be an Essassani child.
It's great to be an Earth child
And
as well.
that was exactly my second thought.
I know,
was
that's
that
why I said it for you.
You read my mind.
No, we're on the same wavelength and having the same thoughts at the same time.
Thank you, Tadeo. That was beautiful.
Thank you, Nania. At this timing will be the transmission that has been established and anchored within. One moment, one moment, one moment. Attention, attention, attention. I am Epsilon. Together with Epiphany and Eclipse, we are the triad of the Essassani Oversoul. There are no others like us. No others will channel us in the way being channeled now through this particular conduit. We are here to remind you the vibration of your upcoming matrix. There is now, having been explained to you, that we as a triad stabilize the vibration of the Essassani Oversoul, so that all the individuals therein can experience and draw from that stabilization matrix. We have explained that we are also now overlapping with the collective consciousness of your civilization. The way that this is being done energetically is as follows. It has been discovered that there are within your lunar body disc-like large objects, concentrations of mass called mascons. These have been fashioned in your natural lunar body. The moon that you experience is a natural body split off from your world, but it has been engineered by others to contain these mascons, which resonate at a certain frequency. And in resonating at this frequency, it was prepared that the moon could act as a resonating receiver for the vibration we are now sending to you. To establish the stabilization link between our world of Essassani and your world of Earth and the higher minds and oversouls that are represented by each. So as we now set up the idea of the resonant pattern of our stabilization energy and transmit this vibration to your world, we are now activating the mascons within your moon. Your moon shall now become your vibrational representation of the Earth Oversoul. and act now in a new way that will help accelerate the vibrational energy toward the time that we have announced and brought to your attention as the fall of 2016, when everything will change. You will thus now, looking at your moon, feeling the idea of the polarized light coming from your moon that is reflected from your star, understand that that polarized light now from your moon will contain an additional vibration that will be the stabilization vibration of epsilon, epiphany, and eclipse. And in particular, any lunar eclipse that you will now experience in totality will amplify and magnify the stabilization vibration and act as a buffer zone, act as a gap for allowing of redefinition, redesign, recreation of yourselves as an identity on the oversoul level, so that that can filter down into the individual expressions on your planet that you each are, and imbue each of you more with that stabilization energy to act as a stabilizing format for the changes that will occur in your fall of 2016, so that you can ride that wave of change in a much more stabilized way. Look then to your lunar body as the representation and vibrational resonance symbol and reflection now of the oversoul of your world, sending to you this resonant vibration to stabilize, blend, and balance the masculine and feminine energy of your world, so that you can create more stability and more communion between your physical and higher mind, and all the aspects of your being can become far more integrated in a far more accelerated way during this 2.5 year opportunity you have to integrate more of yourselves before the fall of 2016, when everything changes. Attention, attention, attention. We thank you for the allowance of this transmission, and we will commune with you through your lunar body from this point forward. Did you receive that transmission appropriately? Yes. All right. Now you can understand that from this point forward, the vibration of epsilon, epiphany, and eclipse will be linking resonantly to your lunar body, so that you can all thus then, by allowing yourselves to feel that particular resonant frequency that has now been added to your oversoul energy, added to the collective consciousness of your world, you can begin to truly move more in the direction, in a positive way, of becoming lunatics. And in that way you shall become far more like us and become good crazy, so that you can become crazy good and live your extraordinary life. We will now allow you a brief break to set up your holotope experience, during which we will supply the meditation, including this new resonant frequency that now includes your collective consciousness, your oversoul, and the lunar vibration, to crystallize this connection within you and allow you to go forward in life in a more extraordinary way. Please enjoy a very short break, and we will resume this transmission shortly. How's it going?
So you've talked about the value as individuals of remaining in the neutral point between the positive and the negative, as it allows all viewpoints to be valid. Can this be applied by the collective itself? If so, can you describe some aspects of what that would look like on Earth?
Well, it would be what I have described as the civilization on my world, that is operating on pure synchronism, is telepathically bonded in unconditional love,
and experiences the idea of clarity every single moment while we are walking through a multidimensional dream. That is how you would experience it on Earth were you to evolve to that point.
And how does the idea of the collective consciousness work with the idea that we are constantly navigating to different vibrational versions of Earth? How is it possible for us to continually shift into different realities while simultaneously being part of a collective?
Because consciousness is everywhere. Remember that you're dealing, when you shift, not only with your own individual consciousness, with the collective consciousness of your world, but with the collective consciousness of all that is on different levels of expression. So the idea is that consciousness is everywhere. There is no place that consciousness is not. So you simply adapt a different form, a different expression of consciousness, and utilize connections to all levels of consciousness while you experience the shifting.
Okay, and can you expand on the idea of raising our frequency in relation to our sun? I understand that different versions of Earth have the same sun, and although Willa lives on a different version of Earth, that version still circles around the same sun as our version of Earth.
No, it does not. When you shift completely into a completely different universe. Completely different. It may look the same, but it's not the same. So no, when you shift, you are not orbiting the same star.
Okay.
Just as you are on a different version of Earth, you are in a different version of the universe with different stars that, again, may look similar, but those are the stars of that universe.
Okay. So this person is asking about the Anuhet.
Yes.
She says, once I had a clairvoyant interaction with a feminine entity, which I think is an Anuhet woman. I think she is that because of the way she was way ahead of Willa in terms of frequency and non-physicality, but still as human as one can get. It was the experience that made me understand that there is much more to reality. Is that entity in that role my most probable future life experience? And in what way were you and Willa connected to her on her paths?
It is a probable future life experience, as you term these things linearly, because you are focusing on it and experiencing a connection to it. So it can be possibly a future self. Our connection, Willa, is representative of your Earth when the sixth hybrid race is fully forming. My connection as the third hybrid race is part of the union of all the hybrid races, so that when Earth becomes the sixth hybrid race, we all blend together to become the seventh.
Okay, and recently you shared a meditation technique for ringing the bell at Bell Rock, and I've meditated there in the past. Since I live at a distance, I'm curious if replicating the experience in my mind while meditating at home produces the same effect, or is it less effective than when it's done remotely?
It depends upon your understanding of time and space and your belief system. Since distance is an illusion, if you truly understand that, then your meditation at home can be just as effective as actually being in present with Bell Rock, because you would understand that at home and in present is no different if you understand that distance is an illusion.
So it's all dependent on your belief system.
And your understanding of time and space.
And space. Okay, and this person's asking about the Mitchell-Hedges skull. They were in a private session with the Mitchell-Hedges skull, and they brought their clear crystal skull to absorb the energy of the Mitchell-Hedges skull. How much information does one crystal skull absorb from another? And what kind of information can a crystal skull reflect back to you?
All the information that is absorbed and all the information that is reflected to any particular individual is all the information that is relevant for that individual's life path. It doesn't necessarily absorb all of the information in a master skull, like the Mitchell-Hedges skull, but it will absorb everything that is relevant for the individual connected to the skull that is doing the absorbing.
Okay, and can you give us a little guidance on making sense of our dreams? And the way this is expressed is, how can we make more sense of them even when they seem completely random and easy to discount?
Well, again, remember, there are different kinds of dreams. Sometimes if you're having an experience out of body, your physical mind will use whatever symbols make sense to it to represent or symbolize the experience you had, but there may not necessarily always be enough symbols or enough representative symbols to make complete sense out of what was going on a different level of reality. So sometimes the dream can be highly symbolic, and if you have an understanding of the symbols and how you relate to those symbols, sometimes even understanding that you are everything in the dream and what those symbols mean to you as different aspects of yourself being reflected back to you, and what they symbolize to you about different components of your consciousness, then you will have a clearer understanding of what the dream, quote unquote, means to you.
So I guess that can help when people do like dream journals and they start keeping track of the different symbols that repeatedly show up in their dreams.
Yes, even if they don't repeatedly show up, you can still have a relationship to a symbol by meditating on what the symbol represents to you.
And that can be especially true when you wake up in the morning before you fully come out of the dream state.
Yes, it is easy to remember the dream if you stay with it and not just jump out of bed. Another way to look at it is if you have any proficiency with any other divination system, like tarot cards or such, you can start treating the dream symbols in the same way that you would treat the symbols on a tarot card or any other divination system.
That sounds interesting. This question is, can you define observations, perspectives, opinions, and judgments?
Observations are neutral. Perspectives are your particular point of view that can still be neutral. Judgments, in the way that typically humans mean that, usually goes into some sort of adding your opinion, your belief, a perspective that may or may not be positive or negative, into the mix of your observation. In other words, judgments and opinions represent the filtering of observations through your particular belief system, whether it's positive or negative, as to what it is you are observing, what your perspective of it is. Perspective can sometimes already be representative of a filtering through your belief system, which is why you have that perspective, although there are neutral perspectives as well. So basically, observations can be neutral. Perspectives can be neutral, but can be representative of filtering through a belief. Judgments and opinions are usually representative of filtering an observation through a belief system, whether positive, neutral, or negative.
And when we're following our highest excitement, can you help us understand where rest, entertainment, diversions are necessary and how to know where to place them in our reality so that we don't get out of balance with it?
Well, again, if you actually are living in the vibration of your passion, the things that you need, including things like rest and entertainment, relaxation, would synchronistically be obvious to you as part of your passion, part of your excitement, when they are necessary for bodily replenishment and so on and so forth. In much the same way that you know when it's time to eat when you are hungry. So when you are truly living in your passion, there will be other kinds of senses that you will develop that will tell you, now it's time to rest. In the same way that you have a signal that now it's time to eat because you feel hungry. So the idea is to include all of those things in the vibration of your passion and let synchronicity organize them all in a way that allows you to hone your senses to be able to tell when certain things are necessary within your passion, within your excitement.
So also what you're saying, I guess, is that as long as the more precise you are in following the formula, the more accurate your interpretations of the signals you receive will be.
Yes.
For example, if a person is having issues with their weight, they might get constant signals that it's time to eat, but that's more of a reflection of being out of balance.
Yes.
But if you're following the formula more precisely and you are experiencing the higher vibrational state that comes with your passion, where everything falls into place, where everything is synchronistically aligned, then you will receive those messages in a balanced way.
Yes, because if you pay attention to people who are following their passion, just to use the example we have already suggested, you will recognize that sometimes people will hardly ever feel hungry. They will feel hungry when they need to. They will not feel excessively hungry because they are so focused on their passion that they're getting energy and getting support in another way. And then when they truly need sustenance to support their body, then and only then will they start to feel hungry. They will feel hungry no other time.
So if you look at the human beings you've been interacting with for a long time, and you see their progress in terms of utilizing the formula and becoming more and more precise at it, are there sort of like stages that people go through with it so that at some point you cross a line and you're actually so much more accurate than you might have been in the beginning when you were misinterpreting anxiety for passion, etc.?
Yes, of course there are stages. Stages of understanding, stages of, as you say, wrapping your mind around something, really making it real for you, really having a knowing of how it works. Again, it goes through stages in much the same way that you learn how to walk as a child. There are the stages where you're simply lying flat. There are the stages when you begin to move around and crawl. There are the stages when you finally balance yourself enough to walk. There's the stage when you finally learn to balance yourself enough to run. And then there are the stages when you finally achieve things that you consider to be certain forms of athletics, where you can leap and bound and do other things, somersault and so on and so forth. So yes, there are energetic stages like that in our observations of people and their understanding levels of the formula. We can tell when you're crawling, we can tell when you're walking, we can tell when you're running, we can tell when you're leaping.
How can you help us know where we are in terms of our progress on that, like what stage we're at?
We can only assist you by helping you to understand how to clarify your own self-investigations about why you believe what you believe and what's holding you back in your belief system. What it is that prevents you from having a clear understanding of the principles of the formula. So that's how we help you, by clearing out your attic of any beliefs that are holding you back from your pure understanding of the formula.
So basically, since we're manifesting all the time, it's all based on when you manifest something, how you react to it, how you respond to it, where you get confused, where you get clarity. And that's what really shows you what stage you're at in terms of working with these concepts.
Yes.
Great. And this is a person asking about the formula, so let me see if, if someone hasn't been following their excitement for a while and then they start to follow it again in any given moment, what happens? And you said that the only way to miss an appointment that's meant for you is to worry about missing it.
Yes.
Can you expand on what happens if someone misses an appointment? Does it queue back up again and come back around for another opportunity?
Yes, it always does, if you're paying attention, if you're willing to understand that that is happening. You will always be given another opportunity. Now, that doesn't mean it's not possible to simply miss it for the entire lifetime. Because if you keep refusing the opportunities, if you go into a negative vibration that makes it almost impossible for you to see the opportunities because you're not on a vibratory level to perceive them, then yes, that can happen for an entire lifetime. And then when you are non-physical, when you go into spirit and look at your life review, you might go, oh, look at all the missed opportunities. Look at all the times I could have been willing to pay attention to the opportunities, but I just didn't. But you will still learn a lesson from that. So there is always another opportunity to learn the lesson, always another opportunity to choose something where you can apply the information and the knowledge of that lesson. Whether you are still physical or not is not the key. It's whether or not you simply arrive at a point ultimately where you're finally recognizing that there is an opportunity to learn the lesson and do something with it.
So when you reach the stage of the formula where you're expressing a higher level of precision, what are some of the kinds of things that can happen in that circumstance? And does that then indicate that when you're looking at scenarios outside of yourself, or apparently outside of yourself, that are negative, where it's war or all of these kinds of things, once you're in that higher vibrational state, does it mean that you are actually looking through the glass wall at these activities, and that you need to know that when you're in that higher vibrational state?
When you are in that vibrational state, you are operating on synchronism in the same way that we do. You see reality for what it is, your projection of consciousness. You explore everything with curiosity. Nothing makes you react in a negative way. You remain neutral and positive in your approach to everything. You act immediately and fully on every opportunity that represents your excitement and your passion. You are your true self, and you feel transparent to yourself and are willing to look at everything within yourself and accept everything that manifests in your life as an opportunity to experience more and more expansion and more knowledge. You start really becoming lucid in the physical reality dream.
Sounds wonderful.
It is. Full of wonder.
Yes, it is. Now, this person is telling a personal story that they have, and I will give this information. She says that she was a prostitute 10 years ago.
Yes.
And she got caught by a lot of people, but she healed herself, and she's a different person now. And she's trying to let go of her past, but people still remember who she was. So everyone who knows me has heard about it, is what she says. And meeting new people, even abroad, they seem to become discovering of her past. So she wants to understand, how can she be present and forgive herself, because it's now causing her to be afraid to start something new, because she feels like it'll just keep coming back and haunting her.
All right, well, there's two ways to approach this. First of all, she herself may not be really letting go of that persona if she really truly wishes to. So she may be walking into new relationships in fear that she is going to bring that persona forward, or that someone is going to know about that persona. So she's holding on to the persona for some reason. She has to look at her belief systems about what she's getting out of doing that, and really truly let it go if it really doesn't belong to her anymore. She has a different past if she's truly a different person. The idea that someone might point it out to her, might quote unquote remember who she was, is simply an opportunity for her to see if she's still reacting to it in the same old way, or saying, but that's not who I am. The second approach to this can be to remind people that everyone was a different person in the past, no matter what it is they expressed, no matter who it is they were being. So just as someone might point out to her that she was different in the past, then she can point out to them, but so were you. Who did you used to be in the past that you no longer are? Can we relate to each other as people in the present and let go of the past? Can we simply be here now? So that's the two approaches. She has to find out if she's holding on to that past persona for some reason that she believes serves her, or if she's just testing herself to see if she can let it go, and at the same time can remind others who pointed out to her that they themselves also have past selves that they may not be letting go of, or that they have let go of, and to simply exist in the present, because what purpose does it serve to relate to someone who is no longer in the present?
Okay, and this is kind of reiteration of another question, but still probably useful. This person is saying that they find themselves judging themselves whenever they're angry, judgmental, or get annoyed at someone. And they want to know how they can have an opinion of their self-expression without feeling bad. In terms of reflections, what is it saying about me when I am angry and annoyed at somebody?
It means you're angry and annoyed at yourself. Because again, you're projecting onto them what you feel to be true about yourself. So we would simply suggest more honest, deep self-investigation about what it is that you feel uncomfortable with within yourself. What are you out of alignment with within yourself? What are you angry with yourself about? And investigate that more deeply, more fully, and let it go.
So also, like from your standpoint, a lot of times people will think that you're going to lose patience with them or something. And as you've explained to us, you don't experience that because you're just in that vibrational state where that's not part of how you express yourself.
Yes, we don't not only have the idea of losing patience, we don't have patience. We don't need patience. You only need patience if you're waiting for something better to happen. Everything that's happening is the best thing that can probably be happening at that moment. It's the most important thing. So we're fully engaged in the present and therefore are not waiting for something else to happen. Therefore, we don't need patience. And if we don't need patience, then we never lose our patience because we never had it.
Okay, so that you see when you're reactive to something that it's probably, for a human being, it's probably means that there's issues of self-worth are coming up.
Yes.
And they don't know who they are anymore. They're confused by what has manifested.
Yes.
And the idea is to recognize that once you know what the higher vibrational state feels like, where you don't need patience in a sense, it can show you the direction to go in to regain that state.
Yes, but part of that direction is understanding why you were out of alignment to begin with. What belief you're holding on to, why you reacted the way you did. So that's part of the idea of the realignment, is understanding why you were misaligned.
Okay. And this person is saying that they've mostly used pain as a teacher to drive them towards growth. And how can they change that motivator into one that involves joy and, positive states instead of fear and negativity?
All right, well, their ability to ask the question itself can propel them in that direction. Because if they really only understood how to motivate themselves through pain, and that was it, they would never even wonder if it was possible to motivate themselves through joy. But this is what following your passion is all about, is motivating yourself through joy. So the idea is, what are you getting out of motivating yourself from pain? Do you not truly believe and understand that by following your passion, you are motivating yourself through joy? Again, it comes down to following the formula and truly understanding it, understanding how it works. But if you really believe that you're not going to move forward unless you goad yourself with pain because you believe that that's necessary to get yourself to act, to get yourself to move, to get yourself to grow, then you'll keep using that because you want to keep motivating yourself. But you don't have to do it through pain. If you understand how the formula works, you will understand that when we say to act on your passion, that is synonymous with motivating yourself through joy.
And this question is, are there laws governing the spiritual world, just like there are laws governing the material world? Or is there only one set of laws and that applies to both spiritual and material world?
The 5 laws apply everywhere, every when, to everyone, in every state.
Do you want to repeat the 5 laws?
Number 1, you exist. Number 2, the one is the all are the one. Number 3, you want to join me? Come on, let's start again. Number 1, you exist. Number 2,
The one is the all is the one.
number 3,
What you put out is what you get back.
is that the third one? We'll leave it at that and let the ones that know find out and remember what they are. But again, it's not about memory. It's about knowing what you need to know when you need to know it, and understanding how things work and how things exist, what the structure of existence actually is. Now, yes, there is a person who had a question about the idea that when they hear about the 5 laws, for them it is actually only 3 laws, and the rest are simply corollaries to that. And that is true. And that's why we originally talked about 4 laws and then turned it into 5 laws, because we realized that many humans on your planet need things broken down a little bit farther to understand the principles in more detail in order for them to have a clearer understanding of those things. But there really is only one law, and in a sense, it is that you exist. And if you understand all the corollaries of your existence, then the other so-called laws are natural extensions of that. So there really is only the idea that you exist. That is the law. The corollaries that extend from that can be experienced in different ways depending upon the level you're in, but they still do apply to all different levels. But you exist. Existence itself applies to every level. You exist. You cannot cease to exist. There is no such thing as non-existence by definition. And everything that extends from that is an extrapolation of the fact that you exist. That everything is one thing. But it changes. It experiences itself in all the ways that it can. And that's why the 5th law is that everything changes. That's the only constant. Everything is always fluctuating, always changing, always reflecting different versions of itself to itself, always knowing itself in all the ways that it can. So what you put out is what you get back is simply a way of saying there's no difference, in a sense, on a fundamental level between you and anything else. There's nowhere for anything else to go. It can only go within you. You can only experience it within you. And that's why what you put out is what you get back is the linear expression of the fact that everything is happening within you and there's nowhere else for anything to go. There is no outside. The one is all, the all are one, again, is another recognition that everything is the same thing experiencing itself in all the possible ways that it can. So,
Okay, and then this question is, can you explain the difference between the dream state, template level reality, and physical reality?
the dream state is a broad expression that can include the concepts of experiencing out-of-body experiences, astral travel. The template level reality is a specific vibrational state that represents as above, so below. In other words, what you have deemed as a theme you will experience in your physical reality dream is, in a sense, sketched out on the template level reality first. It is a specific vibration within the astral realm, just above physical reality, that then crystallizes down into the experience that you call physical reality. So you could say physical reality is a crystallized form of the template level in energy in non-physical reality that represents the blueprint or the themes that you have chosen to explore from the astral level, from the spirit level, which encompasses the astral realm and the dream level, the spirit level, all in one thing.
Okay, great, thank you. And this person's question is about Christ consciousness. How would you define Christ consciousness? What does Christ consciousness reflect to us?
Christ consciousness is typically a reflection of the entire collective consciousness of your world. In other words, you have your own individual consciousness, you have group consciousnesses, you have archetypal consciousnesses. Christ consciousness is the archetype of the collective of the entire population of the earth and the earth itself.
So what frequency would Christ consciousness represent?
Well, this is something that brackets both the physical and non-physical realities. So it is something that contains frequencies that, in a sense, are a spectrum just below 333,000 cycles per second and above 333,000 cycles per second, which is the barrier between physical and non-physical reality. So it actually straddles both.
Okay, that's nice. And I think this will probably be the last question. Recently, you described how embracing being spirit beings is an important part of preparation for the idea of open contact with high vibrational quasi-physical ETs. Can you give some examples of the aspects of and abilities associated with being a spirit which are important to learn and integrate as we raise our vibration?
The most important thing is to completely let go of the fear of death, to understand it, truly understand it, as nothing more than a continuation of life, a transition into a different state. In many ways, just a continuation of your experience of physical reality, because physical reality is simply another aspect of the spirit realm in which you exist and never leave. So when you really start to experience the idea of non-physical reality as a continuum and a continuation of physical reality, and start to experience physical reality as a projection of non-physical reality, that you never leave non-physical reality in order to have a physical experience, when you dissolve the idea of the difference and the borderline to a great degree between physical and non-physical reality and lose your fear of death, then you will experience yourself more as the higher mind, experience more abilities of spirit in physical terms. You will be a more balanced and blended being and experience more of what we talked about earlier in terms of the way we experience our reality.
I see. And thank you so much for your help with all of these questions. I know that in the future I will be prepared for that pop quiz.
It is our passion.
Hello, Bashar. Recently, my girlfriend left me after 15 years for all the mistakes and that I have done for the last years, and she was right. But through the whole process, I've changed, and I saw that I really love her, and I would like to show her that. And I have really changed, and now I think I will be the best candidate for her to spend the rest of her life with me. Isn't the universe supposed to give me another chance, another shot with her? Thank you.
The universe gives you all sorts of chances, but it may not necessarily be with what you consider to be the same person. Because if there is something else that is now more representative, someone else that's now more representative of the changes you have made in your life, then if that person shows up in your life, you won't care that it's not the same person, because that person will feel correct, because that person is a reflection of the changes you have made as a perfect match. So don't insist that you know that you are the best candidate for that other person, because you don't actually know that for a fact. And it can be preventing you from actually attracting who you need that would actually be the best relationship for you. So just allow yourself to know you have changed. Allow what needs to come in, because even if it looks like the same person is coming back to you, it's not the same person, because if you've changed, they will have to change to match the changes in you as well. So don't insist on the look of who the person is. Allow yourself to simply let in the person that is actually the best representation of the changes you've made within yourself.
Hi, Bashar. My question is about variations of gender expression and the new species of humans that you speak of coming through. Currently on the planet, there's a lot of anger and violence projected towards people who are not cisgendered. And I was wondering if you could speak to us about transgenderism and variations of gender expression and how we can better understand each other's differences. Within this, I'm also curious about this new species of human that you speak of coming through, and if in that evolution we are moving beyond the old understandings of sex and gender, and if we are collectively moving towards a more androgynous expression. Thank you so much.
To some degree, you are. You will not lose the idea of the genders, but you will be more allowing of the understanding that spirit is everything and nothing, and can be anything in physical terms. So the idea of transgender people is a way of showing humanity that it can actually choose what to be in a far wider range of expressions than it may have previously thought, that it is more fluid than it thinks, that it is more capable of expressing itself in a multitude of ways than previously thought. So therefore, you have to look at the idea that it is an expression of spirit, that spirit can be anything and everything, and it can serve humanity to be far more flexible in its understanding of what it can be.
Hello, Bashar. So nice meeting you.
And you as well. What would you like to discuss this day?
Oh, my questions would be about my role as a first contact specialist. I know that as a child, during the night, I was taking part in the hybridization project. And also that nowadays, during the nights, I'm on the spaceship with the hybrid children. So I'm really looking forward as working as a first contact specialist. Why is it that I cannot remember anything from my experiences during the night?
You obviously remember something, or you wouldn't be having this question. So the idea is that there is a timing to remembering these things, and the timing at which you remember them is used as a barometer to understand how close contact actually is. So it's all right. Just move forward by acting on the formula, acting on your passion, and you will allow your life to unfold in a way where you will arrive exactly where you need to be, exactly when you need to be there, interacting with exactly who you need to interact with, and remembering what it is you need to remember, but there's no point in remembering it before you need to remember it. It's not time yet for you to remember a lot of the things you were taught on the ships, because those things don't come into play until you're actually interacting with the hybrid children on Earth.
Yes. And I sense that, well, I'm communicating with them telepathically.
Yes.
And I sense every now and then in the daytime, they are with me in the room, in my living room. And then sometimes I can't see them, but I sense them. And sometimes I visualize, or it just is an impression that they start materializing in my presence. So that's the way it might happen.
Yes, in a sense, because what they're doing is coming into a slightly altered version of physical reality that is just beyond the normal physical reality that you consider to be your physical reality, to entice your senses to stretch and perceive them in that reality. And the rate at which humanity can do that also is used as a barometer to understand how close those two realities are coming together when you start to be able to perceive what's in that reality and make it one reality, shift yourself to that version of reality where they also exist, because they exist in a slightly different version of physical reality than you do. So being able to sense that and see them more and more and more physically as time goes on means that those reality vibrations are merging and you're coming closer and closer and closer to the point of contact.
Yes, because during the daytime, I often hear myself saying, "Oh, yes, you're welcome." But then during the night, when I'm going to the toilet, I think, "Well, no, not now." So during the night, there's still a fear inside of me to meet them. Is that a problem to meet them in the daytime? Do I have to heal that?
Again, the idea is to look within yourself for anything that you are afraid might happen if you move forward in your passion and deal with it and let it go. Because again, remember, some of it is just unfamiliarity with their higher frequency that may cause your physical body to go into survival mode, because exposure to their frequency can make your physical body believe that it's actually dying. And that's why it goes into survival mode, which can feel like fear. So it's not about the idea even necessarily that you have fear beliefs to let go of, other than the idea that you have to get used to a different vibration that your physical mind and physical body interprets as death. Because a lot of the higher vibrations of interdimensional beings operate on a very similar frequency to that of spirit. And so your physical body can interpret that interaction and that frequency as if it's dying. And that may be mostly what you're feeling. You'll get used to it if you remove any fear of death that you have by understanding that you're already in spirit and that physical reality is just a projection from spirit.
Yes. Yes, and my highest excitement is channeling, going into the channel state. I do that a lot, as often as I can.
All
But
right.
then I notice I only channel my higher self. It really feels like me. But my highest excitement is to channel other species. Why?
But you start with your higher self. You start with your higher self, like many channels do, to get you used to the idea of operating on that level. If and when you start channeling for other people, then it may need to call in other beings. But the idea is that when you channel for other people who have questions that they want answers to, that grounds the information and energy in them and pulls it through you so that you don't have to think about it. But you're getting used to the state by dealing with your own higher self first. This is common.
Okay, yes.
So the way to advance it is to channel for other people who have questions to which they really desire the answers. Then it may call in other kinds of beings.
And I already do that, but
All
I
right.
guess I'm not ready for the next step.
That's all right. And remember, there's nothing wrong with the information coming from your own higher self. It's every bit as capable of any other dimensional being or extraterrestrial in delivering information that can help people. So you may not necessarily insist on having to go beyond that. Just allow the information that serves people to come through from whatever source it needs to come through. Don't insist that you have to connect to other beings if your higher self is doing the job.
Yeah, clear.
All right?
Yes.
All right. Does that serve
Yeah.
you?
Yes, that does serve me. Can I ask more, please?
Yes.
It would be about red light synchronicities and limiting beliefs. My highest excitement is manifesting an alien contact center. And in the Netherlands, we have an option to a beautiful piece of land next to the forest. And that would be a great place for that alien contact center.
All right. I cannot comment on this at this time. Just follow the formula and see what happens.
Okay. And how do I make the difference between red light synchronicity or a limiting belief or a lack of trust inside me?
With honest self-examination as to whether you are dampening the excitement or whether the passion still remains, but you're unable to act on the opportunity. Usually, red light synchronicity allows the passion to act on an opportunity to remain, but removes the capability of acting on the opportunity. Whereas limiting beliefs can actually make the passion diminish.
Yeah, okay. Yes. Yes,
All right?
thank you so much. Yes,
All
thank
right.
you.
We thank you for your interaction. Aveo.
Aveo, thank you so much.
Yes.
Hi, Bashar. My name is Lisa, and I'm asking a question regarding your comments that there is no hole or center core in the Earth. And I know that there was a question about this a while back, and you said no, that there was no hole in the center of the Earth. However, Richard Byrd, in his personal journal, when he had his expedition on behalf of the United States in Antarctica, put in his notes that there was a hole in the Earth. And he actually flew his plane in this hole and actually met with aliens. I wanted to know more about your opinion on this and if you had any comments on that. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.
Yes, we have discussed this before. Many people, when they think they have actually entered the physical earth, have simply gone through a portal into another dimension. They do not perceive that they have done this and therefore think that what they're experiencing is physically inside the earth, when in fact it's in a different dimension altogether.